If you have stubborn belly fat that you want to lose, it's important to know that chronic cardio or crunches is not the way to go in terms of exercises. There is a very excellent exercise protocol for losing belly fat that you need to learn about today. Welcome to the Wild Wisdom Show. I'm Dr. Patricia Mills, holistic medical doctor, transforming women's health with root cause solutions. And today we're going to be talking about the best exercise to burn belly fat, and it's not cardio. Now, this is important because belly fat isn't just something that you might want to get rid of because of the way it looks. It's also been proven to increase inflammation in the body. It's a specific kind of fat found around the abdomen, and in medical terms, it's called visceral adiposity. And they've shown that this kind of fat specifically, as opposed to the fat you might find over your thighs, for example, or your arms, this abdominal fat, belly fat, increases inflammation in the body, which increases your risk for insulin resistance, diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, heart attacks, Alzheimer's disease, cancer. And if you get a sickness like COVID or other viral bacterial infections, you can have a more severe response to it. So, getting rid of belly fat is not just about looks, it's about your whole body health and your long term experience in life. So, we're going to dive into the specific exercise protocol that you need to be doing in order to experience that weight loss around the belly area. Now, it's important to know that exercise has been shown to be more effective than eating a low calorie diet when it comes to losing that belly fat. And the reasons for this have to do with the root causes of belly fat, which I went into in depth in my last episode. And if you want to catch that, the root causes of belly fat, go into my YouTube channel, check out my belly fat playlist, and find that video and watch it because it explains why it's not about necessarily excess calories. It's about hormonal shifts, inflammation, changes in gut health, and exercise seems to improve things like inflammation that lead to improvement of that belly fat, but it has to be the right kind of exercise. Now, what research shows is that low intensity endurance exercise, for example, going for a jog, doing a light bike ride, going for a walk, kind of a low intensity, and we're going to be talking about what low intensity means. That kind of exercise does not reduce belly fat. So we need to do more things than going for a walk or going for a jog in order for us to lose that belly fat. What we do know from the research is that high intensity endurance exercise or high intensity resistance exercise or strength training does result in improved loss of that specific belly fat in that abdominal region. However, what's interesting is that if you combine the two, so you combine some high intensity endurance exercise with high intensity strength training, plus some Pilates, stretching, yoga, that kind of exercise, and you include recovery, that's when you get the most powerful result in terms of losing that belly fat. And why recovery? Specifically in women, this is important because research has shown that women who engage in excess exercise, too much exercise at too high intensity, actually run into problems with their cortisol hormone going too high. And they've documented that this can specifically cause problems in women in terms of osteoporosis, low T3 syndrome, which is a different kind of hypothyroidism where your regular blood work might be normal, but a specific thyroid hormone called T3 can be low, and that can result in a hypothyroid picture, and it can increase risk of heart disease in women. And women are more susceptible and vulnerable to high cortisol because we already start life off with more cortisol, as well as a system that's more sensitive to cortisol. So with women in particular, we need to be very attentive to that recovery piece. So I'm going to share with you a very specific protocol that was shown in research to improve belly fat in women that were either premenopausal or postmenopausal. And this is important because only about 3% of exercise research is done in women historically. So to find a study that looked at women specifically looked at them in terms of premenopausal and postmenopausal, and measured something as specific as belly fat or visceral adiposity. And they were using imaging techniques to actually image it and see the reduction over time. We need to really pay attention to this study. So I'm going to go into this depth. And for those of you who are joining, thank you so much for your comments and for saying hi. I appreciate you being here with me today. Feel free to put your questions in the comments. I'd love to answer them for you live. So, in order to get this study, which was called the PRISE study, PRISE study, what we want to understand is that the intensity scale was used because that intensity portion, as I mentioned before, is very important when it comes to belly fat loss. And so they use a scale from 0 to 10, and that's perceived effort. So what you perceive your effort is, 0 being no effort, like you're lying on the couch, and 10 being the maximal effort that you can imagine putting out for that specific activity. So a scale of 0 to 10. So let's keep that in mind as we go through the exercise protocol. So let's say we start off on a Monday. You could think of it as Monday or day one, but I'm going to be going like a Monday to Friday protocol. So Monday, you would do the high intensity strength training. And the intensity would be a 7 to 9 out of 10. Remember, 10 being maximal effort. So each specific exercise, which we'll get into, was performed at a resistance, so at a weight, and it could be with bands or free weights or barbells or kettlebells, whatever that works for you. But it has to be at a resistance that induces fatigue of the muscles when you do 10 to 15 repetitions. Or you could do it based on time for 30 to 60 seconds, but you have to do it at that intensity of 7 to 9 out of 10. So high intensity for that 30 to 60 seconds. You can have a 60-second rest in between the exercises. You're doing 2 sets of these, and you have to have a 5 to 7 minute warm up and cool down. So before you have to warm up for 5 to 7 minutes, and after you cool down for 5 to 7 minutes. That's for injury prevention in the future. So if we become warmed up and cooled down, we prevent injury at the moment as well as afterwards, especially in terms of stretching. Future injuries are reduced with stretching especially after the exercise. And this should take you about 60 minutes total. So 2 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions per exercise. Now, the exercises were targeting the whole body. So, in the upper body, it would be chest, shoulders, biceps, triceps, forearms, that kind of thing. In the lower body, it's the core, abdominal muscles, the hips, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, calves, etc. So, you can do functional movements such as pull ups or push ups, squats, or lunges. And you can either use a free program like fitnessblender.com, which I love to use online. They've got free videos that you can use a filter to put in, I want upper body and lower body strength training workouts, and they can provide that for you. Or you can work with a personal trainer or a physiotherapist, for example. If you have osteoporosis, you will definitely want supervision for these exercises. I did an entire video just on the exercises for osteoporosis to reverse osteoporosis. You might want to check that out if you have documented osteoporosis, and that's in my osteoporosis playlist on YouTube channel as well. So that's the Monday exercise, is the high intensity at a 7 to 9 out of 10 intensity scale strength training. On Tuesday, you're going to be doing what are called intervals. So the way you do intervals is you choose an endurance exercise. It could be walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, cross-country skiing, rollerblading, elliptical, rowing, whatever it is that you enjoy that you have access to. And then you're going to be doing intervals at high intensity. So you're going to be doing 5 to 7 sets of that activity, 30 seconds at maximal effort. So 10 out of 10, you go flat out for 30 seconds. And then you have a 4-minute recovery where you're at a 3 out of 10 on that intensity scale. So for example, let's say you're walking, you're doing like a brisk walk at a 3 out of 10 intensity scale. Or if you're cross-country skiing, you've kind of scaled back and you're gently going on those cross-country skis. Or if you're rowing, you're gently rowing. If you're biking, you're gently biking. It's not a 0 out of 10. You don't stop. You don't stop and do nothing. You do have to continue to do something, but it's at a 3 out of 10 intensity as opposed to a 10 out of 10, which is what you're doing for 30 seconds. So 30 seconds, 10 out of 10 intensity, 4 minutes, 3 out of 10 intensity, and repeat that 5 to 7 times of that exercise that you selected. This should take you around 60 minutes maximum. So far we have a 1 hour commitment on Monday, 1 hour commitment on Tuesday or day one, day two. On Wednesday or day three, you have recovery. So on your recovery days, again, it's not like you're not doing anything. You're still walking around, doing your usual activities. You're trying to hit your walk, your total walk count of 10,000 steps a day, for example, whatever it is that you're trying to target. So there's still movement in your day, but you're not doing any high intensity exercises. You're recovering from high intensity. On Thursday, you're going to do a whole body stretching, yoga, Pilates exercise. And in this study, they explained that they were doing traditional yoga poses with some modern elements of Pilates training for a total body stretching, flexibility, and strengthening workout. For the Pilates strengthening portion, they started off with 1 to 3 pound handheld weights, and they were instructed to increase the amount of weights and the intensity at which they did the poses so that the range ended up being a 7 to 9 out of 10 intensity for the Thursday as well. So it's not super gentle, very relaxed, like nothing's really going on except for the positions. You are working towards increasing that intensity over time. And that total time on the Thursday or day four, again, is around 60 minutes or less. On Friday, and just to recapitulate, just to reiterate, you may need to find an online yoga and Pilates class that you do. Again, fitnessblender.com has some great free videos you can select for yoga and Pilates videos. You may need a personal trainer that you work with again. So you can either do this on your own or you can find someone to work with, and you may need something at first to get you going. And over time, you can do this on your own. So adjusting to where you're at and what you like to do. If you like to exercise at home or exercise in the gym or with a class or an instructor, that is entirely up to you, as long as you hit that overall protocol of getting the whole body stretched and flexible and some strengthening with those core muscles from Pilates. On Friday or the day five, you're going to be doing a high intensity endurance exercise. And so you're going to again choose your endurance exercise. That could be walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, cross country, elliptical, rowing, rollerblading, whatever floats your boat. And you're going to be performing that at a perceived effort of 6 out of 10 on that intensity scale, 10 being maximal effort, 0 being no effort. And you're going to perform it at that intensity for 60 minutes. So it's not flat out as you would do on interval training, but it's not a super easy light jog where you're barely huffing and puffing. You should not be able to maintain a conversation with full sentences. If you were to be talking to someone, for example, while you're running or rollerblading, you'd have to break that sentence up into words. Like you would not be able to complete it because you'd be out of breath enough from that exercise. That's another way to know if you're exercising at that 6 out of 10 intensity level. Now, Saturday and Sunday are recovery days, or in other words, day 6 and 7. Again, you're still walking, you're still moving, you're still hitting that 10,000 steps a day if that's what you're targeting, but you're not doing high intensity exercise because you need to recover, to bring that stress hormone down and get your hormone balance in check so you don't run into the long-term problems of over-exercising like the osteoporosis, heart disease, and problems with hypothyroidism. So, in the research, what they found and what you could probably expect if you're compliant with the protocol and you really do this is that in 16 weeks or less, but certainly by the 16-week mark, you can expect to not only lose belly fat specifically, but also total body fat. You're going to gain lean muscle. You're going to improve fasting glucose, improve insulin sensitivity, which they measured with fasting insulin as well. And you're going to increase adiponectin, which is a molecule that is released by fat, but actually this specific molecule helps with anti-inflammation. So it's like your fat profile becomes healthier. The fat that you do have is less inflammatory, which is wonderful. So I want you to know that exercise on its own can be extremely helpful, but you also need to understand what are the other root causes. It's not just lack of exercise that cause the belly fat to occur. There are other root causes. So definitely go to my belly fat playlist on YouTube, watch or listen to the video on the root causes of belly fat, identify what could be some other of those root causes. I'm also going to be talking about nutrition in the next episode. And we're also eventually going to be talking about some supplements that you can use, but you can't out supplement lack of exercise and poor nutrition. These are all things that you have to do together in a holistic way to get the best results and to be able to sustain them over time without feeling like it's hard or you're feeling deprived in terms of your nutrition. So, next week, tune in for the nutrition piece. I definitely want to thank you all for joining. If you're listening to this on podcast, the very best thing you can do to support this show is to go to YouTube and subscribe. And the best thing you can do to support your loved ones is to share. Sharing is caring, and you never know when someone that you know and that you love is going to benefit from this wild wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me live today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, day, or night, depending on when you catch this. See you next time. Bye.